Fastlane is in the books, and we are officially on the road to WrestleMania 31. I gotta tell you, Fastlane was not a horrible show. To me, it exceeded expectations because my expectations were very low, and we got a surprise or two, which wasn't bad either. This is just my basic reaction to the pay-per-view. It just ended a few minutes ago, so I haven't had too much time to think about this, and unfortunately, there won't be a Raw review up until, at the very earliest, late week, because I won't even be home to watch Raw tomorrow night. But as far as the pay-per-view goes, like I said, it wasn't bad. The main event was not horrible. I knew that Roman Reigns could have a good match if they put him in the ring with someone other than the Big Show. And I know there's still a ton of controversy surrounding Roman Reigns. I'm really not here to talk about that tonight. I don't care. I'm kind of sick. I'm not really in the mood to listen to fans complain about that. That's got to be tossed aside for now because I'm not here to debate that. Now, everything that the WWE is doing with Roman Reigns is fine if Reigns was the guy that everybody wanted, but unfortunately he's not. So a lot of this shit is falling flat. But when you look at the storyline, like him or not, WWE is pushing this guy into the main event of WrestleMania 31. Daniel Bryan actually is the guy that he needs to defeat on his way there just to make him, a little bit more legitimate. And on top of that, don't forget, we all loved Roman Reigns when he was in the Shield, and he was working with great people back then. So since his singles push, he's really only been injured and been in the ring with the Big Show and Kane and people like that. So I knew that if he had a match with a guy and a professional wrestler like Daniel Bryan, the match had the potential to be good, and it was. Bryan was the perfect opponent for him. He brought out the best in Roman Reigns, showed what he could do, carried him a lot of the way even, So Bryan was a good guy for him to be in there with. And I thought the main event came off very well. I had a feeling it was going to end like that. I didn't think that, like I said, Roman Reigns going to WrestleMania 31 is an inevitability. The worst case scenario for Roman is it will be a three-way and there will be some bullshit ending. But if Roman Reigns was going to be the guy to win, that he would win clean. And unfortunately, I did not predict that he would counter Daniel Bryan's running knee with the spear, but it did cross my mind, and I did think that that could possibly be the finish. I had a much better prediction and a different match, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But all in all, as far as the main event goes, if you judge the match and the match itself, it was fine. It was good, and it was acceptable. And I thought it was one of the better Roman Reigns matches that we have ever seen, so that's good for him. Unfortunately, like I said, people still are not clicking with Roman Reigns. They don't like him. They're rejecting him. I don't know what the fuck the WWE is going to do come WrestleMania 31, but something struck in my mind. And I think it's a little bit far-fetched, but it would be cool. So let's just say hypothetically now we know that it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania 31. Judging by the fans' reaction from everything that Roman Reigns has done since winning the Royal Rumble, you know that if they close out WrestleMania 31 with Roman Reigns beating Brock Lesnar for the title, what the fuck do they think is going to happen? It will not be like last year. It will not be a tearful, confetti-falling love fest. It is going to be a shit show of booze, and it's going to be extremely ugly. I don't understand. Even if Vince McMahon is the only guy that can make these decisions, somebody has got to grab his toupee and slam his fucking head on the table and say, stop being fucking stupid. You're going to sabotage your own show, your own Super Bowl, your big event, the event that you showcase to the world. Do you really want to see the fans sabotage it with a shit ton of booze in the main event? Surely somebody in the WWE has got to see that coming. So that makes me think that possibly WWE might throw a swerve at you. Here's the swerve I'm thinking, and here's the swerve I would love to see. I even tweeted something to this effect during the pay-per-view. Now, Brock Lesnar, you gotta think that regardless of what he's gonna do, even if nothing has been announced yet, he should have his mind made up of whether or not he's gonna go back to MMA or he's gonna stay with WWE. And WWE, I think, internally has to know in the back of their mind most likely what he's gonna do. Even though, from the best of my knowledge, nothing is official yet. He hasn't signed or re-signed with anybody, but surely both parties kind of have to know what's going to happen, at least at this point. We're only a month away from WrestleMania 31. The WWE needs to start planning how they're going to book this main event, and Brock's contract status weighs heavily on that. Now, here's the thing. The one internet report that I did see, and I don't know the validity of it, I don't know how true it could be, I don't fucking know, I don't care what the websites say, but I did read it, and it did say that it's rumored that Brock Lesnar could stick around. Maybe MMA is just not a risk he wants to take at this point. Whatever the fucking reason is, he could possibly re-sign with WWE when I always thought he was all but gone back to MMA. So what if, let's just say, what if Brock Lesnar does decide to stick around for another year? Just another year contract that begins right after WrestleMania 31. Why not have him retain the fucking title if that's the case? All of the arguments I made to Brock Lesnar last year when everybody was freaking out about John Cena Cena and this and that. I kept saying to everyone, the WWE needs to stay the course with this guy. He's one of the most dominant people they have ever had on their roster in history. They need to build him for WrestleMania for a big opponent to bring down. But here's the thing, Roman Reigns might not be ready. The fans clearly are not accepting him. So I don't know if Roman Reigns is going to be the guy that you want to use to end that impressive run by Brock Lesnar. And here's another thing. I think CM Punk could possibly be a factor in this too. Here's why. CM Punk had the lengthiest title reign in recent wrestling history. It was over a year long. Things are really bad right now between the WWE and CM Punk. CM Punk completely drugged them through the mud back on that Colt Cabana podcast, and WWE has even recently released a video on YouTube of footage from the Royal Rumble with close-up views of CM Punk's lower back, and no such lump that he was talking about appears to be visible, at least on camera. Not saying that CM Punk is completely lying, but he might not be completely telling the truth either. And the WWE has even gone so far as to file a lawsuit against him for slandering their doctor and all of this shit. So CM Punk and Colt Cabana apparently are going to be taken to court by WWE and some of their doctors and all this shit. So there's some drama with WWE and CM Punk. And when you think about CM Punk's title reign and how significant and lengthy it was a couple of years ago, the WWE might want to erase that and have another guy hold that distinction. The same exact thing took place when Brock Lesnar left the WWE in 2004. Up until that point, he was known as the youngest ever WWE champion, but he left the WWE high and dry to go play football, and I think the WWE resented that, and they wanted to take that title away from him of being the youngest guy ever. And here sits Randy Orton, who's getting on the map and who's a hell of an athlete, and he's like a year younger than Brock Lesnar, and that's why they super pushed him at SummerSlam to beat Benoit and win the World Heavyweight title, just so Brock Lesnar would no longer be the youngest WWE champion ever. So I think if WWE wanted to do something like that again and Brock Lesnar does stick around, have him keep the belt till WrestleMania fucking 32. How awesome would that be? You talk about an unstoppable monster. Imagine another year of Brock Lesnar domination during title defenses. Now, I know those title defenses won't necessarily come every month. We would still have to not have the WWE title on television for long periods of time. So I don't know how that would work out in the long run if you're champion, unlike CM Punk, who was there every night, working every Raw, every house show, everything. Brock Lesnar wouldn't be doing that. So could they really afford to have this guy hold on to that belt a whole nother year? I don't think so, which makes this whole idea far-fetched. But it is something that I considered, and that if, WWE's got to know that the fans are going to hate Roman Reigns winning the title at WrestleMania 31, Brock Lesnar decides to stay with the company for another year, why not have him retain the title? And maybe instead of waiting until WrestleMania 32, because that might be a little bit too obnoxious, maybe have him drop it at SummerSlam at the 1 year mark of him winning it from John Cena the previous year. So I think there's a lot of possibilities here, especially with Brock Lesnar's future still kind of up in the air. We haven't heard anything definite yet, but if he does stick around in WWE, that could drastically affect the outcome of the main event. Now, if he's gone, we know what's going to happen. Roman Reigns is going to win. And whether you like Roman Reigns or not, I think that's beside the point. Just like his match with Daniel Bryan, if you put him in the ring with Brock Lesnar, I think that's a match that could be good. Regardless of if you're accepting of Roman Reigns or not, judging the in-ring work alone, I think the main event of WrestleMania 31 could be a good in-ring match. It's just the fact that WWE is pushing Roman Reigns that everybody hates so bad, and it's just like it was with John Cena. Speaking of Mr. Fruity Pebbles, he went down in his match with Rusev like I had a feeling he would. Now, my predictions were all over the place when I put that shitty predictions video up earlier this week, and I apologize for that, by the way. Personal life right now for me is extremely insane, one of the craziest times in my life. I can assure you nothing's wrong, nobody died, nothing that's going on with me is negative. But my time that I usually am allowed to devote to this channel is being severely depleted right now just for personal reasons, and that's why, I haven't been up here as frequently, and unfortunately the channel may suffer a little bit for the next couple of months because of this, and I'm so terribly sorry. The timing couldn't be worse because it's WrestleMania time. I know last year I was up here every 2 fucking days, so I'm not going anywhere, don't worry. I'm still going to be here, going to be uploading videos as often as I can, but you might not get a whole lot of pay-per-view reviews reviews and Q&As and this day in histories and shit like that out of me right now because things are just too nuts. But I will be up here at the very least weekly between now and WrestleMania 31, and hopefully I'll be up here more than that. But as far as all the extracurricular stuff that goes on my channels, all the other series and segments that I do, they're temporarily on hold just until life settles down. So that's a little channel announcement for you that I really didn't plan on making until the end of the video, but it just randomly came out now. So anyway, back to John Cena and Rusev. In my shitty predictions video that I referred to, I was all over the place in my predictions from this match, even changing my mind mid-commentary and picking Rusev to win via disqualification or countout or something like that. Although when my brain was turning, I did mention the possibility of John Cena being locked in Rusev's camel clutch finisher and passing out, because we know John Cena, it's all over his fucking t-shirts and wristbands, he never gives up. So you know John Cena won't be tapping out or submitting or anything like that. He's gonna have to pass out, and I kind of had a feeling that could be the finish, and it was. What does that mean? That means we're gonna get a rematch at WrestleMania 31, and Rusev's impressive streak will probably end there, which means John Cena could very well become the United States champion. Like I said before, I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world if John Cena was able to win that belt. I really wouldn't care. As long as Rusev got at least one victory over John Cena, I was happy. You know, and of course it took Lana coming in the ring. I know a lot of fans are going to have a problem with that. Look, Cena is Cena. You guys have moved on to Roman Reigns. You shouldn't give a shit about what Cena does now, but you should understand that a guy like Cena, a character like that, a moneymaker like that, is not just going to go down clean and tap out to Rusev, plain and simple. Not going to happen. This is a program. This is going to stretch out several matches and going to lead into WrestleMania and all of that. You got to do something now with the distraction from Lana. Cena has a reason to challenge for the rematch at WrestleMania, and the whole thing can be done again. And they might even have a third match just like Bray Wyatt and John Cena did last year. As we get closer to WrestleMania, we can start worrying about the finish of that match. But yes, if I had to predict this early and this far ahead of WrestleMania, I think it's pretty obvious that John Cena will probably defeat Rusev. But you know, I'm always the guy that looks on the other side of the coin. Is that really the most horrible thing in the world? Think of a guy like Rusev. Just a year and a half ago, he was in NXT. Now he's on the main roster with an undefeated streak, working with essentially the top star in the company, or at least the most money-making star the WWE has. And he's going to be working with him at WrestleMania, the show of shows, and he has this long, impressive streak, and if it's going to end, it needs to end on a big stage in front of a lot of eyes. So Rusev's streak ending could actually be a good thing for him. It'll be memorable. He's working with a top guy, top money, top everything. I doubt seriously that if Rusev winds up losing at WrestleMania 31, that Rusev will be complaining. If you work with Cena at Mania, WWE likes you, win, lose, or draw. And don't give me any of that, yeah, but Cena this, or yeah, but Cena that. There are no yeah buts. I'm right. The other big match, or confrontation, I should say, that went down on Fastlane was Triple H and Sting. This actually pleasantly surprised me. They didn't do a whole lot of bullshit. Sting just came right out there right away to his music, which wasn't bad. I almost wish they would have used his old WCW music. And he got in the ring, and Triple H actually cut a pretty decent promo. You kind of see where they're going with this now. He was shooting pretty hard on Sting, and he said a couple of things that I really liked, referencing Sting as being the face of WCW, and when Triple H said, my legacy was putting your legacy out of business, that was awesome. And so basically they're playing up this angle that Sting has harbored all this resentment towards WWE for putting his company out of business, and that's why he showed up at Survivor Series to put Triple H and his wife out of business. So Triple H basically tells Sting, you can either walk away right now and we never see you again, and I'll make sure that you get a DVD and a Hall of Fame induction and all of this shit, but if you don't, then I'm basically going to kick your ass. And Triple H is out there in his jeans and t-shirt and leather jacket, so he means fucking business. And they actually got physical, which I really liked. I thought they might hold off on the physicality between the two until WrestleMania, but they had a pretty full-on brawl complete with baseball bats and sledgehammers. I didn't so much like the baseball bat spot. It was like Sting just kept sticking it in Triple H's face, and he just kept backing down like it was a shotgun. Just grab that fucking bat out of his hands and cram it up his ass. Triple H has got to be at least 3 times stronger than Sting. Like, what the fuck? So, you know, he's really backing down from Sting. Sting looked actually pretty good. The two of them had a nice little brawl. It was nice to see, just a tease of that we're going to get at WrestleMania. And I got to say, I am actually optimistic. I've always been hesitant about welcoming Sting into the WWE given his age. He's in his mid-50s now. What kind of a match can this guy have? I'll tell you what kind of match he can have. He can have a good one. And I actually think, believe it or not, that Triple H is the perfect guy in the company to work with him because Triple H is who he is. He's part of the WWE, and he's the one guy that I think will have no problem putting Sting over at all. Daniel Bryan last year, Sting this year. Certainly doesn't look like a guy that enjoys bearing people to me. I'm actually very optimistic for the match. I really am. I think it's going to be a lot better than I thought in my head it would be. And I think between now and WrestleMania, the two of them can have some pretty cool interactions on Monday Night Raw. I'm sure we'll see Ric Flair get involved again, possibly even Stephanie as well. I'm sure at some point Stephanie will slap Sting's painted face. I guarantee it. Another big segment that took place on Fastlane that I absolutely loved was a surprise from Bray Wyatt. Now, The Undertaker's music started playing. I had no idea they were going to do this. It kind of caught me off guard. The Druids came out, the casket, the whole deal. As soon as they wheeled out the casket, you kind of knew that it was probably going to be Bray Wyatt busting out of that thing. He's been cutting the promos every week on Monday Night Raw for the past few weeks now. It's pretty obvious he's talking about The Undertaker. There's really absolutely nobody else it could have been. I was surprised to hear that. I really didn't think Undertaker would compete this year. I almost thought he would sit out, and maybe retire next year at WrestleMania 32, but he's actually coming back after losing the streak last year. So I've mentioned before, a couple of months ago when this match was first rumored, that at this point, since the streak is already over, what's the harm in losing another one? And it could be a great way to help Bray Wyatt out. And Undertaker, as he's won each and every year at WrestleMania, year after year after year after year, wrestler after wrestler putting him over, now he could spend his last remaining WrestleManias doing the same thing. And maybe he starts a streak of another kind. And maybe this year he goes down to Bray Wyatt. Now he's 21-2. And then maybe next year in Dallas, in his home state, he goes into the Hall of Fame, he has one more match, and he goes down at 21-3. Loses his final 3 WrestleMania matches on his way out the door. That's what you do. You go out on your back. For all the guys that laid down for him and for the professional that Mark is, and we all know he is, I'm sure it's something he'd totally be open to. Because for Undertaker at this point to come back and beat Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, you would almost think, what's the point of that? He would have to beat Bray Wyatt if he beat Brock Lesnar last year, obviously, because I believe the streak should never have died and Undertaker should be winning every year. But at this point, since he's lost, to me it doesn't matter if he wins. What's the difference if he loses 1 or 2 WrestleManias? Either way, that impressive streak is dead. So my extremely early prediction on this is that Bray Wyatt actually does defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. I can't wait to see the match, and I can't wait to see The Undertaker show up on Raw. I'm actually happy that we have not seen the last of him yet. I was not ready. I know The Undertaker is old. I know he looks like he's, centuries old, literally, and he looks so broken down. But it's like, after last year, I had this empty feeling in my gut. I hated the fact that the streak ended, and I'm just not ready to let go of The Undertaker yet. I want him to go out. I want to be happy when he goes out. When he's done, I want to feel satisfied. Last year, I almost didn't feel satisfied. So we'll see. We got a lot of time before WrestleMania and see how this storyline develops. It should be fun to watch. Dean Ambrose and Wade Barrett, I think, ended in a DQ. Was it Ambrose that got disqualified? I forget. Ambrose actually left with the Intercontinental title, even though he did not win it. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro did surprise me and actually beat the Usos for the tag team titles. My predictions were horrible. I didn't get any matches right, except for Roman Reigns and Rusev. Actually, I got Nikki right also, but I didn't even know about the stupid 6-man tag. I didn't even know about Cody Rhodes versus Goldust. I was missing matches. I was a fucking mess last week. But I actually was surprised to see Kidd and Cesaro win the tag team titles this quickly. I guess they have been doing more with this team than I realized, because tonight was my very first glimpse of that god-awful fucking restaurant scene between Natty and whoever the other chick is. I mean, what the fuck am I watching here? Wrestlers are the worst actors in the world. Just even setting something like that up, it's just brutal to watch, and it's sheer torture, and they showed the replay of it like 10 fucking times during the pre-show and during Fastlane. I wanted to kill myself. I don't know when that took place. I guess a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown. But man, that was some fucking horrible shit. Stop doing stuff like that, WWE. It's not needed. Cesaro and Tyson Kidd and the Usos are all fabulous wrestlers. They don't need all that shit tied around their stupid-ass tag team title feud. I always scream and yell at everybody for needing to understand that it's a different age in the business and it's 2015 and things are different, so I need to take that same advice and accept that this is the type of stupid shit that I'm going to have to see if I so desire to remain a wrestling fan. I got to get used to it and I got to accept it. But man, it's fucking fucking awful. But all that aside, congrats to Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. At least Cesaro is a champion. You know, it's not a world title push or feud or anything like that, but, you know, at least he's a champion and he's involved in something somewhat significant, I guess. And you never know. Whenever you take a floundering guy like Cesaro or a guy that's just not getting, the opportunities are pushed or over or anything like that, and you stick him in a random tag team, sometimes it works. Look what happened to Damian Mizdow. He's about to explode onto the scene here any minute. So Cesaro, this could be good for him. And of course, my beautiful wife, Nikki Bella, did retain her Divas title over Paige. That was a nice match to, let's just say, watch. Actually, it was more like a stare, but I definitely saw it, and congrats to Nikki. Here's a couple of matches that I had absolutely no clue about. Number one, Goldust versus Stardust. Now, they officially basically broke up on Monday Night Raw when Stardust hit Goldust with his finisher or whatever. Dusty Rhodes is involved in this, trying to get his sons in line. Cody Rhodes is batshit fucking nuts, doesn't know who he is, what he is. He says, "Don't call me Cody, call me Stardust." He even sported some new ring attire tonight. It was just trunks now, long trunks, and the big star on his face, and he's now wrestling with no shirt. Looked a little bit different, not too bad. If this is the gimmick they're going to go with him, that's fine, I guess. I don't know if he's eventually going to snap out of the Stardust persona and become Cody Rhodes again. But I'm almost wondering if they might stick with the Stardust persona. He's fucking good at it. And what I would like to see have happen, because we've heard rumors of it, Dustin Rhodes is competing at an unbelievable level considering his age. But he is old. And I think if he's going to hang it up and if he's ever going to retire, the perfect time to retire is work a retirement feud with your brother and maybe pass the torch and the Goldust legacy on to him. If the WWE wants to keep Cody Rhodes as Stardust, they could continue that character's legacy through Cody for another fucking 10 or 15 years. Dustin Rhodes debuted as Goldust 20 years ago in 1995. Can you fucking believe that? So now if he's going to retire and pass the torch onto his brother could do this shit for another 20 years, and before you know it, you've got a half a century full of this crazy-ass gimmick. I think these guys should have a retirement match at WrestleMania 31, or a loser leaves town match, or something to get Dustin Rhodes out of the WWE and have him retire. And then Goldust can stick around. He can work backstage. He can work with NXT, be an agent, be anybody. You know, there's a lot of things he could do with the company and maybe tone down or wind down his in-ring work here, and I think a retirement feud and WrestleMania match with his brother is the perfect place to do all of this. So that's what I'm hoping they're going to do. Whether it happens, that remains to be seen. Also, the show opened with a six-man tag match captained by Ziggler and Rollins. Ziggler has Eric Rowan and Ryback on his team. Rollins, of course, has Big Show and Kane. Haven't we seen enough of these two fucking guys? The match actually wasn't horrible. I just hate these thrown-together six-mans. I'd much rather see Ziggler and Rollins just have a one-on-one match. That would be far more entertaining to me. I can't remember who it was that said to me on Twitter, but they were like, "Why would you want to see that? We've already seen that match 20 times. Well, I also saw Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero 20 times, and that never got old, so I wouldn't mind at all. Seeing Rollins and Ziggler work together would be far more entertaining, like I said, than the six-man match. But I thought it was okay. It was fun at times. You know, the match, I guess, was a way to try to get the crowd off hot, but the crowd even seemed dead all night long. They just were horrible. They did not help matters at all during some of it. It really took them a while to kind of get going, and they only had certain moments during the show that they actually got fired up for anything. But the six-man tag, even though I really wasn't a fan of it, it did exceed my expectations, which is a good thing. All in all, the pay-per-view was not the greatest show ever, but I wasn't expecting it to be, and to me, it was a little bit better than I thought. I thought this show was going to be, 4 out of 10, and instead it turned out to be 6 out of 10. So not the greatest, but not the worst, but it doesn't matter, because now we're on to WrestleMania. As far as Monday Night Raw goes tomorrow night, I guess we're not going to see anything that significant other than WrestleMania really taking shape. Another thing that I really liked about Fastlane is they went ahead and just flat out announced Triple H and Sting for WrestleMania. Because during that confrontation, which now that I think about it, I probably even forgot to mention, but Sting, of course, did eventually point with his bat to the WrestleMania 31 sign, basically challenging Triple H, and he accepted the challenge. Later on in the show is when they announced that the match is official and will take place at WrestleMania 31, and there's already one match on the card. I didn't think any matches were going to be officially announced until Monday Night Raw at the earliest. So that was a nice surprise that they just got that out of the way. The fans know what's going to happen, so the WWE didn't waste any time, and they just went ahead and announced the match. Awesome. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, of course, is also official with Reigns' victory, so that's actually 2 matches that are now for sure for WrestleMania. We'll probably get a third one come tomorrow night on Raw. Keep me posted, please. Like I said, I will not be home to watch Raw. I will be in Anaheim watching the Red Wings play the Ducks but I will be checking my phone and checking my Twitter. Let me know if any crazy shit goes down. And hopefully I'll be able to come up here, hopefully late week, maybe by the weekend, to discuss anything I missed and any other wrestling news stories that have been floating around that I haven't gotten to in a while. So let me know what you think of Fastlane. I'm interested to end this commentary and go online and see what the overall reaction and feedback is, because I really haven't seen any of it. And hopefully my opinions will be consistent with everyone else's. So until next time, peace.